Hello friends, welcome. Friends, India's mobile phone manufacturing has started showing dividend. It is clearly evident by this article which says that India's exports as far as smartphones are concerned has clocked 1.5 lakh crores in past 10 months and the date of the article is 18 February 2025. Now, this has been attributed to PLI and other schemes which the government of India has been supporting the smartphone manufacturers locally in India. Now, friends, why I am doing this video today? The reason I am doing this video today is because the overall global supply chain, which is responsible for manufacturing of smartphones, is likely to get disturbed because of the tariff war which has been started by President Trump, which has already started showing its impact. Now, since India's focus has been to raise its production and to further drive smartphones exports, then what it is currently doing, it is important to understand that what kind of opportunity exists for India to further ramp smartphone manufacturing further up from what we are currently doing. Now, in order for us to understand that what opportunity exists for India because of this tariff war which has been started by US, it is important for us to understand where we are placed compared to China in smartphone production. Then only we will be able to understand that what is the opportunity that we can leverage because of this tariff war between US and China. So friends, I have created a slide deck. In slide deck, the starting point of the slide deck is 3 questions that we are going to analyze and answer in this video. The first question is how India is placed compared to China in smartphone manufacturing in terms of volume. What is the local value add for smartphone manufacturing in India and how it compares with China? And this will be an approximate analysis because I really don't have the real number, access to real number. This is based on my estimate. Then we are going to talk about how much value erosion is caused due to PLI incentive and how long we can sustain this, because this is very important because PLI is hard cash and we have a limited budget and we have to see that what kind of volumes that we can drive and how much money we have to spend. So let's go to the next slide. First, let's understand that what happened in calendar year 2024 as regards to smartphone volumes. Now, in year 2024, the total volume was 1.24 billion units globally, out of which Apple was 232 million, Samsung was 223 million, and remaining volume are for other manufacturers. Historically, China was dominant manufacturers of all these volumes, which is 99%. But in CY 2024, the China manufacturing has gone down to 60%. From 99%, it has gone down to 60%. So the volume that China manufactured in CY24 is 730 million. Vietnam around 200 million. India is around 200 million, including 55 million of exports. Brazil is 30 million. Indonesia is around 35 million, and others around 40 million. These numbers can change slightly here and there, but it's largely, you can say the ballpark range. Okay. Now, India's smartphone market for calendar year 2024. Now, if we look at from a value point of view, the total retail value was 45 billion, out of which Apple's share was 8%, Android share was 92% in terms of volumes. Now, value share, approximately Apple is around 9 billion, which is 20%, and Android is around 36 billion, which is 80%. So, this 9 and 36 adds to 45 billion, right? So now let's look at the wholesale and local value addition in India, because these are all retail numbers which I'm talking about. This 45 million billion that we spoke about is of retail value, right? Now, the retail value is not the benchmark on which value addition should be calculated. It should be on a wholesale level. Now, what is the number for wholesale? Now, for Android segment, the retail value is 36 billion, which we already know. Now, if you take the GST, which is 18%, then all the margins, right, retail margin, etc., the wholesale number comes out to be around 26 billion, right? So, if we assume a local value addition of 14%, this is again my estimate. This may not be accurate. It can be a little higher, right? the overall value in absolute terms becomes 3.64 billion. For Apple segment, the retail value is 9 billion. Now, Apple has got a little higher margin. So, this was 28%. For this, it will be 50%. So, the net value, wholesale value will be around 4.5 billion. So, assume that there is a 7% value addition as far as Apple is concerned, which we will understand why. This will be coming out to be in absolute term around 0.315 billion, right? So, this is the calculation. So India's combined local value, pre and post PLI, because before the PLI is netted out, because we are giving subsidy. So before the PLI is netted out, what is the percentage value if you combine these two volumes, because we need to understand that what is the percentage value when you combine them and then calculate an aggregated number. So the total wholesale base, we know 30.5 billion, right, which is 26.4 of Android and 4.5 of Apple. Total value addition will be the total value add, which we know already here, which is 3.64 plus 0.315, which roughly comes out to be around 4 billion, right? You see, it is 4 billion. So, PLI payout was, if you go to the PLI payout, which I already have a slide. So, if you look at the, so let me just zoom in a bit here, you'll see that the Ministry of Information Technology is paying for the PLI for smartphones. So, the actual number for FY 2024 was around 4,294, right? So this is the number. So if I go to the slide, I have taken a number of around 4,200 crores. So this comes out to be around 0.5 billion, assuming rupees 80 per dollar, right? So net value addition after PLI is what? 4 billion minus that 0.5 billion comes out to be 3.5 billion, which is roughly around 27,800 crores. So local value addition post PLI, if you take at a retail level will be 3.5. This number 3.5 divided by 45 comes out to be 7.7%. And if you take the wholesale number, which is 30.5, so 3.5 divided by 30.5 comes out to be 11.5%. Now, local value addition pre-PLI, right, is 4 divided by 45. Why 4 divided by 45? Because we are not netting the 0.5 billion PLI incentive we are giving, which comes out to be at a retail level of 8.9%, and at a wholesale level it comes out to be 4 divided by 30.5, it comes out to be 13.11%. So, value erosion as far as PLI is concerned at the wholesale level is around 161 basis point. Why? 13.11% minus 11.5%, it comes out to be 161 basis point, right? Now, India versus China. This is very, very important. Local value addition. Now, my understanding is China 2004 had around 730 million phones, right? Out of which Android was around 630 million with a value addition of around 50%, right? At wholesale level, Apple was around 100 million at a value addition of 20% at the wholesale level, and we'll figure it out why it is 20% in China and 7% in India, right? Weighted average will be about 100 million multiplied by 20%, multiplied by 630 million by 50%, divided by 730, which comes out to be 46%. So, India's pre-PLI value addition at wholesale level is 13.11%, post is 11.5%, and versus China's is 46%. We don't know how much subsidy element is included here. Therefore, I could not net that subsidy element what we have done in case of PLI. Because if you net out the subsidy element, then the overall value addition gets reduced to 11.5%. Now, how do you know that Apple value add in India, and what is the basis for that? How do you estimate around 7%, and how do I estimate around 20% in case of China? So for that, friends, I have done a tear down of iPhone 16 based on some of the sourcing that I have done from some few of my friends. This may not be accurate, but I just have given it for reference. Don't call me for these numbers, but these are only for reference purpose. So all the BOQ items, you can just pause the video and look at these numbers. Now let me tell you that SoC and modem neither produced in India nor in China. Memory is coming from outside, Samsung, right? Memory ROM is also Samsung. Antenna connector, maybe some elements are produced in China, but definitely I don't know it is produced in India or not. Display, definitely not Apple's. Power management IC, no. NSPIC Bluetooth, maybe in China, I don't know, but India, I don't think so. Camera also I think, maybe it may be an assembly, but the meat of the camera is produced somewhere else. Lens is $2. Face ID, no. So there is an element of PCB assembly, which I'm sure is around $16, which is produced in China, which is manufactured in China, and body and casing, maybe a maximum part will be produced manufactured in China. Battery, possible in India, and assembly, the Foxconn assembly, $23 possible in India. And then royalty of 5% of $500, which is basically charged by the technology provider, 25. So if you add everything, it comes out to be around $400. Now, if you do the calculation, say for example, assume that India does battery and Foxconn assembly, $23. So 23 plus 10 comes out to be around 33. So if you divide 33 by this 399, it comes out to be 8.27. So that's why roughly 7%. Now, for China, if I add 16 and 27 on top of this, because this may not be hard and fast, because there will be many things which is flowing from outside, this comes out to be around 20%. See, 19.04%, 20%. That's how I have calculated this. Now, iPhone margin analysis. We know that the total hardware cost, right, which is $399, includes Foxconn assembly and royalty of $25 roughly, right? So this is $399. Assume a retail price of $800, then 10% of retail margin, it brings out to $720. And if you subtract, from $720 minus $399, it is a $321, which is of Apple margin, which is roughly 40%. And this includes R&D expense, software development, customer service, warranty, marketing, logistic, everything, net profit, right? So this is the way the whole calculations has been done. So now, what basically I'm trying to tell you is that the China has got a value add of 46%. Its numbers compared to India is how many times more? It is 730 in terms of volume divided by 200. It comes out to be 3.65 times, which means that there are certain elements in China which India will be very, very hard to do, because most of the Android manufacturers are based out of China, and the volumes of smartphones is mainly in China as far as Android is concerned. Now, Apple, even in case of Apple, the volumes in China is not that high. It is 100 million. And even if the volumes of Apple in China reduces by substantial amount, the value addition in China is not that great as far as Apple is concerned compared to that of Android. So, if India is able to get the whole Apple ecosystem, right, which is the 100 million plus, right, still we will not be able to match the value addition which China is doing because of the Android ecosystem which is located in China. So this is very, very important, conclusion of this analysis. Now, let's look at that how much volume in terms of how much value in terms of smartphones we will be able to, or we are targeting to increase going forward, and that we will be able to get from our PLI budget. So let's look at the PLI budget that India had in year 2024. So if you look at the 2024 number, this number was 4,000. Revised number was 4,294. So this contributed to how much volume of smartphone? Value of smartphone, $45 billion. Now the revised number for FY25 is 5,777. So we can very easily calculate 5,777 divided by 4,294. It comes out to be how much? 3.34. Now if you multiply this by 45, let's say if I multiply it by this 45, so this number comes out to be $60.54 billion. So this smartphone value in terms of local manufacturing in India will be roughly around $60 billion, ramping up from $45 billion, which we have done in case of FY24. Now, what should be the number in case of FY26? Again, the clue can come from our budgetary estimate of 9,000 crores. So if we do 9,000 crores and instead of 577 crores, and take the reference of FY24 numbers, this comes out to be from 60 billion in FY25, we are ramping up to $94 billion. So you can imagine that how much projection that we have done, as per as PLI, subsidy of 9,000 crores in FY26. So our volume will double. So this will become 1.3 times in FY25, and we are projecting to double our value, not volume, value from $45 billion to $90 billion. So that is the kind of focus we have. Now, even if so this is the point which I was trying to say. Now, this may be largely attributed to Apple, because we may not be able to shift the full Android ecosystem in India, and even if we do, we will not be able to add that much amount of value because the overall ecosystem is still in China. So the net conclusion of this video is that even after spending 9,000 crores, because it may be largely attributed to Apple and maybe to some Samsung. Samsung may, they have gone out of China and they are producing in India. If we are focused in Apple, with the Apple value addition, which is still low in China, which is roughly around 20%, in India is 7.5%, our local value add is not going to be that significant. What we have seen in case of China, which is 46%. We will definitely increase from 13.11%, pre-PLI netting, or post-PLI it is 11.5%. This will go up. But this is largely capped because of the Apple ecosystem, which is largely global. If you look at the Apple ecosystem, if you pause the video and see, this whole thing is largely global. Even China is not producing many of the items which are listed here. So that's all, friends, which I wanted to talk about in this video. You got a very good idea as to what the opportunity that exists for India as regards smartphone is concerned. To me, it looks like that there could be a sizable volume of smartphone from Apple which may shift in India, but Android is largely still will be located in China, except Samsung, which is moving out of China to other markets. Thank you, friends, for your time. I hope that you have liked this video, and if you have any questions or any suggestion, let me know in the comment section. I'll come back with a new video next time on a new topic. Thank you very much.